Do you want to do more than follow orders? Think outside of the box and manifest your dreams? Then you've come to the right show. Welcome to the award-winning podcast, Holding Down the Fort by U.S. VetWealth. I'm your host, Jen Amos, a Gold Star daughter, veteran spouse, and entrepreneur. For Season 9, we continue our partnership with the Rosie Network to highlight motivational stories of personal growth, financial awareness, and autonomy in our military community. We're also excited to continue showcasing our partnership with Blue Water Advisors. Now, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. Got a question for you. Have you ever struggled to find the right hair products while serving in the military? Listen to how Nina Pinidi founded Solime Royal Hair to deliver all things hair, free of harmful chemicals and eco-friendly products for all people. Because, as her website says, your hair is your crown. Facing hair loss and challenges with military grooming standards, Nina turned her personal experiences into a mission to serve the military community. She discusses the importance of finding chemical-free hair products, her struggle with alopecia, and the launch of her business aimed at helping those with textured hair. As a new entrepreneur, she highlights the invaluable support of the Rosie Network Service the CEO program, appreciating the free resources given and its strong support system. And whether you're a veteran looking to start your own business, have textured hair care needs, or simply seek inspiration, this episode is for you. Nina, it was a pleasure having you on our show. For everyone that wants to get a hold of Nina, please check out the show notes of this episode. This is episode 211. If you're listening to this at the time that the episode is released, you can visit holdingdownthefortpodcast.com and you will see her episode on the very top, the first one that has been published for this week. You can also go to the search engine that we have on our website and type in the numbers 211. That's episode 211. And her episode will pop up. So with that said, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you enjoy this conversation that I have with Nina. Enjoy. Hey everyone, I'm really excited to introduce you all to Nina Pinidi with Solime Royal Hair. Nina, welcome to Holding Down the Fort by U.S. VetWealth.
Thank you, Jen. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and I guess I should ask you, because you have actually been listening to the show already, how did you happen to find the show to begin with?
Well, I actually was at a time where I was looking for information on basically what veterans do to start their own businesses. So I think of course I tried Google, LinkedIn, type in different things to see what will come up. And I love listening to podcasts. And so I'm like, you know what, let me just type these keywords in the podcast search, and Holding Down the Fort came up. And I remember listening to an episode that was so close to what I was looking for. And so, yeah, this is when I started.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. Part of why I ask that question is because it's really market research. It's like, how do people even find the show? It's a mix of everything. So sometimes, like you said, people just happen to find it by Googling. Sometimes it's word of mouth. Sometimes it's just through my own personal invitation of like, hey, I need guests on the show. That was in the early stages. Now I don't do that. Now I am so grateful to, be in partnership with the Rosie Network to interview people like you. I have to tell you, if anyone ever gets into podcasting, especially interview style podcasting like what I do, the hardest thing is to find quality guests. And partnering with, so fun fact there. So partnering with the Rosie Network has been godsend to me. So thank you, Stephanie and Ebeth and Trisha and Ken and Kiani and everyone behind the scenes who have really helped make this partnership possible. So that being said, that aside, I just want to focus on you, Nina. For people that are getting to know you for the first time, just give us a quick snapshot of your life, particularly, what keeps you busy or excited about life nowadays?
Well, what keeps me busy, definitely the business. I think it's the pun intended, busyness.
Yeah.
But it does, but in a very good way, because I'm doing something that I truly enjoy, and I have ideas at random moments when I go to sleep. Oh, maybe I should look into this kind of product, or I'm watching TV or seeing something on social media and I'm like, oh, let me reach out to this supplier and see if they do wholesale. So the business keeps me busy in that way. Also because I'm new to this. I'm learning to figure out how I can reach the customers that I want to serve. So that keeps me busy, looking for places, locations, venues that would allow me to serve the customers. So
yeah. And I want to backtrack here a little bit, because you went from serving in the military for 17 years to getting into hair products. Okay.
Yes.
So give us the bridge here. Like, how did you get from point A to point B?
All right. So I want to say, I think everybody, especially in the military, we deal with hair products all the time for grooming purposes, right? Like that's part of the job to look a certain way. And so my hair texture it's challenging in the military. It has been for a long time, only because the grooming standards or the regulations were not really written to embrace my hair type, like curly hair, coily hair. And so over the years, for me, it was easier to just cut it, put on so many hats. The hair responds differently, then it disturbs your appearance, and then you could get canceled, all these things. But eventually, towards the end of my career in 2014 is when I started experiencing hair loss, and I didn't understand what was happening. At the time, I was stationed at a very up-tempo place. Like I was stationed at the time at the One Navy boot camp, and it's busy. I love the job, but it was very busy, very long hours. And so I was thinking it's probably stress from that. So I didn't, think too much about it. So actually at that time when I got there, my hair were long and the hair started falling. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just cut it. It's going to be easy anyway. And although my hair was short, Jen, the hair kept falling off. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Wrong. Yeah, I thought it would. I don't know. Cause for me, it's like something is wrong with the hair. You cut it, it's going to grow back.
Yeah.
And it's be okay. But that was not what was happening. And so outside of that experience, so the hair is falling off. I went to medical. I went to see, the doctor on base, and they did some blood tests, then said, it's anemia. So basically it's like different tests, even a scalp biopsy. At the end, they say you have a form of alopecia. I thought that was strange, but I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go by what they say.
Yeah.
So outside of the medical issue, it was also the fact that even for someone that doesn't have any hair problems, moving a lot, within the United States or deploying, living overseas for textured hair, it's difficult to find products that are good for our hair. The military exchanges, the stores just don't have what we need. So because of all these experiences, I promised myself, I'm like, I'm going to solve this problem when I get out. So this is how I went from, serving to starting a hair retail store. And the other thing too with that is that there are plenty of retail stores, beauty supplies. There's a lot of them, popular ones, not so popular. And the thing is, the experience is that, again, when we talk about textured hair, the customer service may not be there for people with like curly, coily, kinky hair. We go into the store looking for a solution and we just don't find the service that we need. So I wanted to provide a service to people targeting the military community because of my experience and because I know what we go through, an experience to make their life easier, really, because there's so many things to be concerned with, and finding products to care for your hair should not be the problem. Not while you're serving the country, at least, know. So all those different experiences that led me to start Solime Royal Hair.
It's interesting that we're having this conversation because I've been like binging stuff on the History Channel lately. I know it sounds really nerdy. I'm not as nerdy as it sounds, but I just kind of went down this rabbit hole of learning about just rehashing like the 1920s, World War I. Wow, that's a tongue twister. World War I, World War II. And actually the disposable blade, like the razor blade to shave, it was actually invented by a service member in the military because they had to keep grooming and they needed to have convenient ways to groom. And so, it's interesting because, like, of course, on the surface, like the military is very polished, but you don't think about, at least for me, I don't think about, oh yeah, that means that part of their daily routine is grooming. And so to me, it would make more sense to have more products and services so that you're able to do that. So I just love how you were able to discover a need in the military community for people with your hair type that maybe weren't getting what they needed, And so I find that very fascinating. And I just love that connection. And I think I think anyone hearing this for the first time, like, how do you connect the military with like hair products? Well, grooming is a huge part of being in the military.
Yes, huge. I mean, from day one, from the time that you step into boot camp, this is the day you get there. This is literally your hair is what makes the difference between you being a service member and a civilian, right?
Yeah.
For male, they get a buzz cut.
Yeah.
This is how you being immediately visually identified as a person who's serving. And then for females up until 2013 or 2014 in the Navy, females that went to boot camp with long hair, they would get a bob cut, So yes, so hair is important. It's important to all of us. That's part of who we are. For some people, hair is part of their spirituality, religious beliefs. So hair is very important. And yes, in the military, it's part of our appearance, but it's also a piece of our personality and identity. So
yeah. I mean, I take it for granted. Right now it's at the time of this recording, it's summertime, and the last thing I want to do is anything with my hair. So it's going to look like this, like just up in a bun. I like it because it's very practical for me for so many reasons. And I get to wear like cute earrings and stuff to compensate. But like I said, you really expanded my perspective on like the grooming side of the military. And like you said, like without even really understanding why, you can tell the difference between a service member versus a civilian just by how polished they are, how kept they are, how in uniform they are with other service members.
Yes. So hair is very important. The other thing too that I'd like to share is that, as I had already started the business, so I started last year in 2023 is when I officially had the business registered and started the online website. But in the midst of all of this, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. As all of this was happening. And so as I was growing my hair back from the different issues I had in the military, so basically I did find out that the reason why my hair was falling off, it was because my scalp was very dry and therefore my hair was growing into a dry environment. Therefore, they were dry also and breaking off. So, and I found that out I had gone through several dermatologists over the years, and it's as a veteran when I went to the VA, shout out to my dermatologist at the VA because it's awesome because he took the time to explain exactly what was happening. And so that led me to also, or at least that confirmed that I was doing the right thing with the business because I also wanted to share what I was learning because I know that I was not the only one experiencing this. And as a matter of fact, my dermatologist explained that the condition of like having a dry scalp and then dry hair that break off, it's very, very, very common in the African American community. And unfortunately, it's common, but people don't know, right? Because they don't go to a dermatologist. What we do is go to the store, buy products, hoping it works, or just cutting it off, hoping that the hair grow back fine without addressing the root cause. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's amazing that, not only did you understand the root of the problem, which is funny, it's like root of your hair, the root of the problem, but you wanted to do something about it, and you realized that there was this huge void in the marketplace. And I do think about even like the Navy Exchange and the commissary and like how they offer a lot of standard things. Like it's great. We need it. It's also tax-free. So that's even better. At the same time, when it comes to customization or any special treatment, in this case to the hair, it's just great that you saw that void. Now, you mentioned how you've personally tried all the products that you sell. Is that correct? Like it's important for you to have been the guinea pig.
Yes. It's very important. So like right now, if you're going, so the majority of them, because I say majority because it takes time. Like I want to make sure that I take the right time to be able to judge the product. Like, for example, if I choose to start using a shampoo, I'm going to use it for an entire month or until the bottle runs out because the hair cycle takes that long, right? Like from like our hair falls off, grow back, falls off, and it takes 30 to 60 days. Like I'm just saying numbers, so professionals don't correct me. But I know it does take a long time. And so it's the length of time that it takes for product to be effective. But yes, I do purposely use the product myself. so I can talk about them. Like, if I have a great experience with the product, then even better. And if I didn't, then I want to share that also. But so far, I've been lucky with like good brands.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also I imagine that when it comes to hair maintenance, it's also more than the product sometimes too, right? I imagine that there are other symptoms to hair loss. Like I think about my own personal experience a number of years ago where I just remember I was so stressed. And I remember I would comb my hair and I had more hair fall out than it normally would. So I'm curious if you can speak on that as well. Like, is that that could be part of a symptom of hair loss, is maybe stress or any other ones that I may not have mentioned?
Yes, there are several reasons. So like, for example, like what you mentioned is very common, right? Like or women, for example, that lose their hair the same way after they give birth, right? So and there's also hair loss due to being perimenopausal. So it's like, of course, now I'm addressing issues that are, pertaining to being a woman and like the different cycles we go through life, because these cycles affect our hair health, and also just simple fact of getting older. I mean, like sometimes we don't look like our age, but our body is still following certain things that goes with the life cycle, of things. So hair thinning, for example, sometimes it happens simply because we're getting older. But when it comes to the military, a lot of the hair issues comes from the headgear that we wear. So a lot of different hats. Like, for example, my job, I used to be in construction. I was a Navy CB, and when we on construction site, we wear a hard hat. And the hard hat, the inside is not nice to hair, definitely not to textured hair, because you have these little plastic rings that every time you take off the hat pulls out your hair, so that causes breakage, things like that. We don't think about this, right? But over the years, doing this several times, you're going to have some damage. And then the infamous bun, right? That, women with long hair wear, the Marine Corps, the Navy. Yes, the bun is slick. It's really nice, but there's some damage that comes from pulling. And a lot of the time it's called traction alopecia. And you would see receding hairlines from, pulling so much over years. And or something else that I remember seeing when I served as a recruit division commander in Navy boot camp is recruits would pull their hair so tight in the bun that at their nape you would see, like small pimples, because they would pull. And I have to tell them, like, this is your body telling you this is too tight. Yes. So there's so many reasons to why hair loss can happen. So because of what I've gone through, that's why I always say you could try products first, or if you have access, like most of us that are military related, we'll have access to healthcare. So go see your primary care provider, let them know what's going on, because sometimes it's also hormonal issues, so there's so many reasons. So that's I want people to be more aware of that hair loss or hair breakage or any type of hair issues is your body telling you there may be something else going on, right? And only a medical professional can tell you about that. And of course, this is outside of hairstyles. Like some hairstyles cause hair issues, using too much heat, using products with too much alcohol in it. By the way, is like the number one reason why your hair can get dry, because alcohol dries out everything. Doing tight braids, tight buns, tight ponytails, tight updos, tight anything. So outside of styling hair itself, or like, wearing weaves that are too tight, or not washing your hair enough, there are like so many. And these are things that I'm learning too during the business, because if I find a product, I want to know why that person created the product, and so forth and so on. And so I found also issues that the different brand owners are trying to solve because of personal issues that they've had also. And so, yes, like there's so many reasons to why hair loss can happen. So I want to do my best by promoting product that would enhance healthy hair, so that we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Well, as a young business owner, tell us the journey of making a business model around curating the right hair products for your audience.
All right. So this is one of the very fun parts. And so again, because of the different personal issues I've had myself and what I know other people experience, it was very important for me to pick products that are free of harmful chemicals, right? Because I'm like, we naturally exposed to like so many other things and using personal care products, things like that. So I'm like, if we can use products for our hair that are better for us, for our health and for the planet, why not? And so that started with me looking for chemical-free braiding hair. And I remember one day, just Googling, and I saw a few brands come up, and I was surprised because I had never heard of those brands until that day that I specifically Googled chemical-free braiding hair. And so I was wondering, where do we find this brand? And that did two things for me. I was like, number one, it's confirming what I want to do, because I want Solime Royal Hair to be the one-stop shop for these products, because people have different kind of issues. Sometimes it's skin sensitivities. So, and somebody that has allergies or skin issues, they may have to spend a lot of money to get prescribed medication, not knowing that they are everyday products that are made that are free of chemicals, because they may be in different stores or out of state or things like that. So I want to be the place where when you come to my store, you know that the hard work has already been done, right?
Yeah.
So I want to so it's very important to me to make sure that the products that I find are free of harmful chemicals. And the other thing that's big is that the brands, they're necessarily not on other big platforms like Amazon or big stores like Ulta or Sephora. A few of them are, but the majority are not. And that's something else that I want to do on purpose. I want to be that place where, those other companies, they only have so much shelf space for product. Number one. Number two, everybody, although they're popular places, everybody does not necessarily go to those places, especially when we have the extrude hair, because they're making the effort to answer that need, but that's not what they're known for. So that's why I want to make sure that Solime Royal Hair is known for that. And I want to lift up those other small businesses and make them known by other, by the community I'm serving. And I think that so far the experience has been great, because people buy the products and they sometimes I've never heard of them, but I tell them what the solution, what solution they can get from using those products. And they come back saying, oh my gosh, you were right. So for me, that's like confirmation. That's like the best thing ever when I get these feedback from customers, because I want people to know that I'm choosing those products based off issues that no one else is addressing. Like the products are created, but you don't know they exist. And so I want to bring them at a place where it's easy for you to find, so.
Yeah, when I hear you talk about curating these hair products, it gets me to think of like, you're kind of like this online farmer's market, in a sense that you're bringing together maybe not so popular brands or not so well-known brands, because these small businesses only have so much of a marketing budget or the connections to end up in the big chain companies or big chain businesses. And so you're here to curate all that and say, hey, there's a whole other product lines, like hair product lines out there that are actually healthier for you, healthier for your hair, and, eco-friendly, and you're supporting small businesses. And so I just love the ambition you have to really just be more, to have more quality, like promoting more quality in the products, but also like the people who make the products, and then how you want to educate them by saying, hey, I've tried the majority of these products, they work well, and you can ask me personally, I can give you that information. So I love that due diligence that you do for your business. And I'm curious, like when you curate the hair products, like what kind of conversations do you have with let's say the vendors, like do you say, hey, I started this brand, I'd love to have you on my platform? Like, how do those conversations go for you?
Yes, it varies, but sometimes it's just like you said. So for example, something happened like that. Well, almost like every week, I always see if there's a brand, for example, I've never seen, and I just like scroll through social media, and it pops up, and I'm like, oh, this is an interesting product. And so if I'm interested in it, I go on their website to see what it's about. And if I like it, well, besides going on the website, doing some more research like YouTube and reading what customers have said and things like that. Once I see that the product aligned with, with the store, with Solime Royal Hair, I go in their DM.
You're like, hey.
Yeah, I go in their DM. I'm like, hey, my name is Nina. I own Solime Royal Hair, or, a lot of times directly is typically from the company website. So I'm like, hey, I would like to know if you have a wholesale platform, and they said, sometimes they're like, yes or no, and then, it goes from there. But I let them know, hey, I'm a disabled veteran. I'm catering to the military community. It's certainly that I know your product is addressing that products that we currently have access to, on military bases don't address. And I feel like your product would be a great fit, or, it goes that way. And
Well, I mean, if you never ask, the answer is no. So I just love that you just go in there, you slide into their DMs or, fill out their contact us on their website. Sometimes I wonder if people actually respond to the contact us on their website. So it's good to know that at least the people you've reached out to have done that. And just really, really amazing to hear how organic it is, like how they're like, yeah, like we could use the help, we can use the marketing. I think it's a great partnership. I'm curious to know, because you're hinting a lot at harmful chemicals. So for the average person that doesn't even know what to look for, are there like key chemicals to avoid in hair products? And then also key ingredients that they should look for in hair products?
Yes. So for example, when it comes to hair products, any product that have alcohol in it, you want to avoid it.
Okay.
Yes, because alcohol dries out everything. Like, if think about it, if you take rubbing alcohol right now, put it on cotton ball or put on your skin, like, you see what it's going to do is going to wipe everything out. It's going to dry everything out. You don't want that in your hair, right?
Sure.
So any product that have alcohol in their formulation, when you read the ingredients list and you see alcohol, put it down. Unless you plan on doing something else with it. But like, if for your hair, don't do it. Don't do it. At least, that's for the most part, I would say. Ingredients to avoid typically is anything you can't pronounce. Like if it's like really long names and you're like, okay, no, you want to.
That's like food. That's like food, like reading food ingredients. If you can't, that's what I learned too. It's like, if you can't pronounce what's in the ingredients, it's probably like a chemically made, different morphed form of sugar. And you might as like, it's just, whatever it is, it's not good for you. So it sounds like it's similar to hair products.
Oh, yes, it is. It is. And if you think about it, a lot of those ingredients that we should avoid that are in personal care products, hair products, and food, a lot of time they by the same companies. It's like huge conglomerate. Yeah. So huge conglomerates that own everything. So that's another reason why I like smaller businesses, because, like, for example, I'm going to talk about a couple of like oils that I sell. One of them, you could see the brand owner at home making the product, because she posts the whole process online all the time, like she posts everything. And the other thing is that when she makes the oil, okay, she lists the ingredients. You could see her making it. And then she shows how before doing it and selling it to the masses, she was actually just doing it for her children, to take care of like some issues. Yes. So when, I see that, I'm like, okay, but so yes, it's important to avoid ingredients that you can pronounce, ingredients that like alcohol. And then there are also some ingredients that we call endocrine disruptors. And these are ingredients that basically disturb the hormonal system in women, so now, years later, we're having issues and we don't know why. It's because of these products that we've been exposed to, ingesting, drinking, eating, over the years. Like, so what we call endocrine disruptors are things that, for example, later on, we're like, hey, we have fibroids, or my periods came, like I had menopause early, or things like that, like things that your body is like off. It's because of that, a lot of time people are like, oh, we don't know why. That's why. It's because we've been using products that are harmful to us,
And it's so subtle. It's like, we just have no idea that it's actually happening because it's so subtle. And we just make it as part of our day-to-day lives to take in these products, whether we consume them or put them on our skin or on our hair. And it's almost criminal. Not to get political here, but I'm sure there's reasons that we will never know, but nonetheless, I think having this open conversation and dialogue and giving out this education and awareness is really important. And hopefully it helps people who can at least start to think, like, if they're going through something similar, they can start to think, okay, well, what can I replace in my home that could be a healthier option? Whether that's food, in this case, whether it's hair products, like skin products, and then see how that plays out. But I appreciate the conversation, because I'm like, yeah, it's amazing how there's so many things in our own home that we don't know could really be altering our own, body and our hormones. Why can't I say that? Our hormones. Mm-hmm. I'm speechless even just thinking about it. So I appreciate the education around this.
Of course, of course. And also something else that I'd like to say, the data is out there. Like me personally, I always like to research things. I don't know, like how you mentioned earlier that you're a nerd, you're not a nerd, because I can totally relate. I love documentaries too.
Good.
And so one that I had watched was called, can we say, I don't know if we can say names of shows, but anyway, I'm just,
yeah. It's your it's your interview. You could say whatever you want.
okay. So the documentary that I have watched that even confirmed, yep, I need to do what I need to do by putting all these, chemical-free products under one roof. It's called Not So Pretty. It was on HBO Max maybe like 2 years ago or something. And oh my gosh. So it's called Not So Pretty, but they focused on like one brand in hair care. They focused in the nail industry. And then, so it was like 3 parts and they focused on each one of them. And yes, like literally for every single one of these products, they were talking about the ingredients that are in there, that even super expensive brands. And that's another thing too. Like we tend to think if something is expensive, it has to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the ingredients in there, or if a certain celebrity is endorsing it or has a name on it, not read the ingredients. It doesn't matter who made it. Read the ingredients. If you have these long names that you can't pronounce, and it's not, because there's also this thing that's called greenwashing, where a lot of brands say that it's, cruelty free, vegan, but something vegan just means there's no animal products in it, right? So the fact that something is vegan doesn't mean that there's no toxic product in it. Vegan means no animal product. It doesn't mean that there's no toxins.
They're just appealing to the vegans. That's what they're doing.
Oh, right. So this part of the greenwashing, like they using these terminologies or putting the leaf or bunny certified, whatever, like all those different things. Just read the ingredients. Don't worry about the little shiny, awards or whatever. Read the ingredients. That's it.
I think even just that practice of like looking at the product, turning it to the back, looking at the ingredients, like that, even just exposing yourself to that and getting into that practice, even if you don't know what you're reading, you'll start to pick up on the same ingredients, I think, in products, and start to maybe look it up and see whether or not it's good for you. And especially the ones that you can't pronounce and even type in, because I don't know, these are chemicals. I don't know how they come up with the names of these chemicals, but it's very clever how they do that. And they make it sound super fancy. And like you said, it gets endorsed by celebrities. So then in your mind, you're thinking, oh, I trust that celebrity, therefore I can trust this product. I mean, it's all marketing, really. If we really break it down, it's really, really smart marketing. And like you said, the truth though is just turn it over and look at the ingredients. And if you can't read like more than 2 of them, more than 2 of the ingredients, that's probably a clear sign. Plus alcohol, like you said, probably a clear sign that you might want to check out the other things on the shelf.
Yes, absolutely. And then, so the other thing with that, so there's a dermatologist that I found, again, through like doing research on like different platform, and I just love like how she explains things. So her name is Dr. Crystal Agu. I don't know her. I never met her, but I just found her material, and then I know that she basically, like somebody else, like I think it was an influencer that did an interview on her talking about in details products and what's in there, and how to, like basically how to make better choices. And she explained everything so well to where it's like, again, people need to read and understand chemistry, because for example, a lot of products, a lot of ingredients are preservatives, right? Just to extend the shelf life of the shampoos and conditioners that we're purchasing, because it's necessary. Versus if you buy something that's clean and that doesn't have preservative, it probably not going to last that long either, right? So that's those things. And then there are ingredients that are necessary, for example, to make some chemical reaction, as in like lather. Like for example, if you want shampoo to lather, then it's a chemical reaction of like certain things in there, right? So certain chemicals are necessary and may not be, I want to say harmful, but I'm focusing on those that we don't need to have and are harmful. That's why the term harmful chemicals, because some chemicals are not harmful and they are necessary, So that's why I want to make sure that people understand the difference, because the products I sell, they're not chemical free. Some of them are chemical free, like some of the oils, for example, but they have chemicals. We're just making sure that they're not harmful to you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like knowing the difference between the good and the bad. Like not all chemicals are bad, but not all chemicals are good. So I appreciate the education on that, because in my mind, I was thinking all chemicals are bad. Anything I can't pronounce is bad. So again, it's just like you said, like doing your due diligence and like getting yourself educated, especially if you are experiencing hair loss, especially if you have a dry scalp. Like it's worth knowing what products you're using to potentially be causing that. So I do appreciate that, specifying the harmful product part. So I want to go ahead and shift gears now and talk about like the entrepreneurial side, because you are a recent graduate of the Rosie Network. So the Service to CEO program, congratulations. Tell us about that experience, like being it. So I believe like in graduating, you're now like in your first year of being in business. Is that correct?
Yes, at this point I am. So, because I started, Service CEO, I registered. Yeah, so it was all this year. And by the time I started, I was a little bit over a year in business. Mm-hmm. But let's say that a year, well, okay, I want to say a year as far as the company existing, mm-hmm. but I hadn't made like many sales, like if I, because it was the online, and my struggle was I don't know how to find customers to buy online. So mm-hmm. with Service to CEO, I liked the fact that not only we get this new network, we get a network of other entrepreneurs that are looking to do the same. And so we get to learn from each other, even if we're different industries. And I really appreciate that. Even if we're in different industries, we learn different ways to, reach the audience that we want to serve. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I like from the program was the fact that they taught us and led us how to build a pitch deck. And I didn't know that that's what we're going to do. In my head, I was thinking, we're going to have different speakers with different expertise. They're going to teach us different things about running a business, which they did. But in addition to that, the application was the pitch deck. And that just opened my eyes to other possibilities that I didn't think, that the possibilities I thought were for people that were more advanced in their entrepreneurial journey, like, because like, for example, when I see episodes of Shark Tank, it seems like everybody that sat there, they already have millions of dollars of sales, like they've been out there already. So, I was like, I don't see how a pitch deck can help me be starting. But after the fact, I'm like, okay, I see now how, like, for example, just the process of applying, to be on your podcast. I was like, hey, send us anything that you have that can help. I'm like, good. I could send it so they could see. And you were literally like the first
yay!
that I got to send this to,
Well, I got to talk a little bit about that pitch deck. And this is, one of the many reasons why I love to interview graduates from the Service CEO program. It's because of that pitch deck. That pitch deck tells me in like less than 5 minutes, like, who you are, your story, what led you to your business, and what you're asking for at the end of it. It's just perfect. It's quick. And, when I think about people I've interviewed in the past, it's just more concise. It just makes my job easier. So thank you to the Rosie Network for that. And most of all, I'm glad that was helpful for you to even just, have that practice of like creating a clear message and a clear ask, because it works. It really does. And I think I've interviewed people who did their pitch deck a couple years ago and it still works. It's still relevant. So that is definitely a piece of marketing material that's going to last you for a while, I feel.
Yes, I like it. And really, the Rosie Network, I mean, the fact that, it's free, all you have to put in is your time. I mean, I don't know what to say about this, but it's just amazing, and for me, like, free resources has been a huge part in my entrepreneurial journey. Like, because I'm a person who I love resources, like, especially because being retired at 17 years, I didn't have retirement. So I'm like, I have to figure something out quick, in the midst of dealing with medical issues. And so I, took the time with like Googling a lot of things. Some friends did send me resources that when they went to a webinar or a transition program, things that they learn. And so the Rosie Network, I remember I was following their pages. I followed their pages, and then I remember seeing an opportunity to be on a Rosie Network list. So I
The
was
Roses list.
yes, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, let me see if this could help. And I did, like, I put my business on there, but I'm like, it's probably not helping because who is going to think of, oh, let me go in there and look for, my business? I don't know. But I felt like that was one way to be connected, to that. And then I put this on my social media page. Like when you go in there on Instagram, you would see, I'm her military connected business. I want people to know that. But the resources, the quality of the speakers that came to help, it's in the entrepreneur journey. To me, it's been fundamental. And I think that's the reason why I get to be here, like speaking to you, because like I said before, I used to think that everybody else that's on some kind of like interview, they've been in business for a long time. They already done, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm nowhere near that. Like I'm really, in the very beginning. So
Yeah.
I hope that people are going to feel encouraged in knowing that you don't have to have capital. You don't have to have anything. You just need to have a good support and a good network. And of course, take the initiative to ask questions to these different organizations, and that's going to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is really the goodwill that is given to our military community are all these resources. And I wish that more people would take advantage, especially of something like the Rosie Network, because of just how robust that Service the CEO program is. I've heard quite often that, cohort members will start out, and as the weeks go on, the numbers dwindle because maybe people didn't realize how much time commitment it would take. And so the fact that you're a recent graduate is commendable. And that's really the type of people, at least right now, on the Holding Down the Fort, that I hope to feature are those who made it out of the gates of the Service CEO, have that pitch deck. And, I'm just excited to see how your journey unfolds. I've interviewed people in the past who were just new in business, weren't involved with something like the Rosie Network. And it's interesting because right now I'm going back to old episodes from season 1. This is like all the way back in 2019. It's like forever ago. And I look up some people, and I mean, there's a mix. Some people are not even online anymore. Some people have rebranded, but some people, their businesses actually like skyrocket. It's a toss up, throughout the years. But I'd like to believe that there's a higher probability of success because, people like you go through the Rosie Network, the Service CEO program. I mean, just the commitment to go through that and to be clear on your message. I just feel like in my opinion, I feel like you've invested too much time to not keep going forward, and making this work.
Yes, I agree. That's a great point. I agree with that. And it's so worth it. Like, and again, because this type of the teachings that we received, the lessons, the training, like you could do that somewhere else and pay a lot of money,
Yeah.
and,
absolutely.
and like the fact that it's free and it's, people that understand the military lifestyle. I mean, I was going to say it's priceless, but I mean, yeah, it is priceless technically, but, it's worth it. It is so worth it, in my opinion.
Well, now that you are, a year in business, you graduated the Service CEO program. What's next? What's next for you and Solime Royal Hair?
Well, what's next? So,
what's on the big to-do list?
Yes, exactly. I'm looking at my board right now. A lot of things. The big thing for us is to reach as many of the people that we want to serve. For me, that's the goal. So right now I sell in person at the Navy Exchange here in San Diego, on Naval Base San Diego. And it's been an amazing experience to be able to do that. And so I sell there. I also sell at the Navy Exchange on North Island.
Wow.
And I just got a third location and I'm super excited about that. And I'm going to be doing the San Diego Harbor. They have a market there, so I'm going to be doing that as well on the weekends because I want to. Because again, it's. I want people to know, hey, just know that you have better options, and I know you don't know where to find them, and I got all the products here. You could just, look, I want to bring them to you. So the goal is to expand as in reaching, customers for them to know that I'm here for them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's already an accomplishment to have made it into 2 exchanges. And is that the phrase nowadays? I'm so far removed from going on base. Is it still called exchange, or do they call it the PX? I feel like.
Oh, yes. No, at least, well, for the Navy, it's the Navy exchange, but I think the Army says the PX.
Got it. Okay. Got to make sure I get that right. My husband's Army. I grew up Navy, so it all becomes a blur.
Got it. If you say the exchange, everybody knows.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, wow. Just exciting to have caught you in the early stages of your business, Nina. And I could tell you're very passionate about it and excited about it. And, given everything you've gone through health-wise, you look so healthy. Your hair looks healthy. I thought you should know that. And I just want to make sure that I've covered everything here. Is there anything else that I should be asking you that I haven't asked you yet before we wrap up?
Well, I wanted to say that, people can go on the website, SolimeRoyalHair.com. Also for veterans, active duty, anybody that has a military ID, you get 20% off when you shop online, because I want to, again, make sure that the products are also affordable for the community. And this is through Govex.com. So you could go on Govex.com and then find Solime Royal Hair, get your discount code that way, or you could come directly on the website, and at checkout, you get your credential verified and you get the discount. The other thing that I want to say is, because again, I'm doing this to serve the military community, so there may be some things that I am not thinking about that people need. So I would say, please feel free to email me, admin@SolimeRoyalHair.com, or send you a DM, on Instagram, Facebook, any of the social media places that you see me. Because if you go on the site and you're like, oh, this is great, but that's not what I need, let me know, and I'll make sure to find a clean version of it for you.
Yeah. And especially while you're still young in business, you're very receptive to feedback, right? And so it's like, hey, I'm literally listening. You just DM me the way that I DM'd other vendors.
Yes.
Goes both ways.
Absolutely. Yes. Because again, I'm doing this in service of, the community. So I want to make sure that people know that it's for them. And so they could just ask me. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Nina, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for your time, your passion, your commitment to helping people who may struggle with hair loss. And I'm just excited for your journey. I mean, this is year 1 going into year 2. And I just wish you continued success and growth and good health. I wish you good health as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you for the opportunity to be on your podcast. I am super excited because I felt after listening to so many other people, especially, a few interviews that inspired me, or I was like, oh, I could relate to this. And now I hope that this interview will do the same for other people that will be listening to this, especially someone that wants to start their business and they feel like they don't know where to start or they don't have money. I was there. All you have to do is look for organizations that exist to serve you, like the Rosie Network.
Absolutely. I love that closing thought. The only limitation is in your mind. It's really just seeking it out. And hey, we got so much technology today to find things. We got ChatGPT, we got Google search. We have so many things. So yeah, I love that final thought that you shared. It's like the resources are available. You just have to go get it. And if anything, you are definitely one of those resources as well, Nina.
Thank you. Yes, feel free to email me. I love to share what I know. So yes, do not hesitate.
Cool. All right. Well, Nina, thanks again for being on the show. I really appreciated having you.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Hey there. This is your host, Jen Amos. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of Holding Down the Fort by US VetWealth. Visit holdingdownthefortpodcast.com to access the full show notes of this episode, including resources mentioned and bonus content. Once again, the website is holdingdownthefortpodcast.com. Lastly, stay after the outro for a little something extra. Thanks again, and chat soon. Bye for now. right, hey everyone. Thank you so much for joining me in the outro. How's it going? Are you enjoying the season? Are you enjoying the pace of the season? Or do you wish you could have more content? Do you wish you're like, hey, I want more? Well, guess what? You can, because we have a free online portal for Holding Down the Fort that comes along with a free private podcast, which is called Inside the Fort. And it's an opportunity to get unfiltered post commentary from me about the show, about the journey of producing the show, and many other bonuses. It's kind of like the catch-all for any bonus content that I think is more fitting for people who really want that bonus content, who want more out of this show. This is a shorter season. We are producing less episodes than we had in past seasons. And so if you're just like, it's not enough, again, visit our website, holdingdownthefortpodcast.com/portal. And when you join, you'll be able to, 1, join for free, and 2, get access to our free private podcast, Inside the Fort, and so many other bonuses offered through our sponsored website, US VetWealth. So US VetWealth is the main sponsor of the show, and all of this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for us being able to house our content under US VetWealth's portal, which is called Military Retirement Blueprint. But we give you backstage access to the portal by joining us on holdingdownthefortpodcast.com/portal. Thanks again, Nina, for being on our show, and thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you in the next episode. Tune in next time.